Hello everybody, my name is Boulevard and welcome to Tournament Tactician, the premier tournament tier list for Legends of Runeterra. Didn't have one last week because not much changed between week 1 and week 2. Nothing has really changed between weeks 2 and 3 either, but it is the last weekend of tournaments for patch 3.12, so I did want to get this out there. I'm not really going to be speculating about the patch. I'll have a patch rundown video on this channel on Tuesday. So I'm not going to really spend like, oh yeah, you know, this deck's tier 1, but come the balance patch, I think this is going to happen. We're not doing that today. We're going to do something else, which is go over the tier list. Now, we all know the major players, Thralls, Kaisa, Bard, nothing crazy going on here. Should also mention that the Online League Series is happening this weekend. If you want to sign up, there's a link in the description below. I'll be casting on Sunday with Jade Doza. Doza's busy on Saturday again, so no broadcast. Really, the only thing that's changed between weeks 1 and 3 is like, I'm lower on Papercraft Dragon than I was. People aren't playing Twisted Fate Nami in the capacity that I thought they would be doing. Annie TF is actually more or less dead. It's now more like TF Conservatory, where we've really had Katarina take over across the board. What else happened from week 1 to week 3? Yasuo Katarina proved to be the fluke that a lot of people feared it might be. Hasn't really done, I think he's had like 1 top 8 in the entire 3-week span. Just not doing it, man. Azir Aurelia still not getting the play rate that you would kind of expect. You know, same thing with TF Nami. Winding Light still like popping up every now and again, but for the most part, everybody's just really hyper-focused on the big 3, and I would expect the Online League Series to reflect that in a capacity as well. Although, the Online League Series tends to be more LATAM-dominated, so LATAM and Brazil dominated, so they tend not to conform to the meta that you get out of like a high presence of United States players in the tournament, or even European players in the tournament, so we'll see how it goes. I don't expect anything crazy to happen this weekend. I think people really don't like this patch, so if attendance is lower than normal, I can see that. It's a pretty low-stakes event. It's the last weekend of a meta that nobody's a huge fan of. The only real exciting thing we have going on is Monkeys. And we've seen Triple Monkeys win the Mastering Runeterra tournament, and we saw it win a smaller LATAM tournament. But we haven't seen Monkeys have success outside of specifically a Triple Monkey lineup. Like, no one's just bringing Teemo Twisted Fate alongside, like, Kaisa and Thralls and winning an event with that. At least not that I saw, anyway. So it kind of leads to this question of, like, is this cheesy? Or is it actually good? Because if you can only win with a Triple Monkey lineup, that leads me to believe that you are catching players unaware, or you're very comfortable on the monkey style of deck, and like we'll have like 3 players that are really good at monkeys, and then everyone else just like can't play the deck, or like doesn't have the balls to commit to a Triple Monkey lineup that you need to do to have success with like these polarized matchups. But I'm like, I don't really have a whole lot to say on it. Nothing super interesting. I don't think it's gonna like be a top tier deck even post patch going into the seasonal. It definitely feels cheesy based on the results that we've seen it had and the way that we've seen players bring it into events, right? Where you're not pairing this with other decks, you're just Triple Monkey or you're no monkey. And that's just not a strategy that we've seen before in Legends of Runeterra, where this deck only works when you are triplicating it and in no other capacity. So it's weird, and I'm definitely keeping an eye on it, but it's not something that I expect to have longevity. That said, if you are looking for something safe to practice that will not get hit by the balance patch, Monkeys is what you want to be looking at, because this deck didn't pop up until after patch 3.13 was locked in, because Runeterra locks in its patches 2 weeks in advance. So there's no chance Monkeys getting hit. So if you're like, oh man, you know, like I still really want to play Runeterra, but I don't want to like practice any of these decks because they're probably going to get hit by the balance patch, then like Monkey's a good place to start. I don't even know if like I said, we're not speculating. That's not what we're doing. I was about to start speculating. That's not what we're doing. So outside of that, yeah, nothing too crazy to update you on. Like when we look at the Mastering Runeterra event, it was like 5 Kaisa Demacia. All of them were mono Kaisa, whereas on the opening weekend, it was like triple Kaisa Sivir in the Online League Series and then no other Kaisa. This time it was 5 mono Kaisa, which a lot of people have started to sort of put on the pedestal as the best Kaisa deck. I agree. Thralls, I think it was 4 Thralls in the top 8. It's a good deck. Bartolawi and Twisted Fate Katarina were the only 2 ofs, and then like everything else was a 1 of, and I think pretty much these 3 were like 1 ofs. Yeah, you know, it's a pretty boring meta when you look at it. If this were the seasonal meta, we'd have a very clear, okay, here's your top 3, and then like your 4th deck is probably TF Conservatory, and then your 5th deck is like whatever. There's really no other Bard decks. Like Bard Shen exists as a counter to Bartolai, but it's, you know, it'll show up as like a 1 of in the top 8. There's, like I said, I'd love to tell you that there's shit outside of this top 3, but there's really not. Like, obviously people are going to top with things outside of this top 3, but nothing major. Like, we're not seeing any waves made by anything. No one's like, oh man, like Frostbite midrange actually counters Kai'Sa Demacia, so we're all bringing Frostbite midrange. Like, even if you just look at the matchup charts for Kai'Sa Demacia, there's not a lot that's like consistently beating it. And Kai'Sa is definitely the kind of deck where even if you come to counter it, it is so powerful that it can just run you over anyway. That's why I was never a big fan of like countering Thralls, is like, even if you bring decks that are supposed to be Thralls, sometimes they'll just like draw the nut hand and your counter deck can't deal with that. Kai'Sa feels the same way. So that's really it. This is why I didn't have a video last week. You see how short this one is? There's not a lot to talk about when things aren't really updating. So very excited for the balance patch so that I can, you know, sort of dig into the numbers of what the actual seasonal is going to look like, because this is, I hate this. This is garbage. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. If I was playing this weekend, probably bring these 3 decks. Thralls, Kai'Sa Demacia, and Bartolai. Fun, isn't it? Anyway, that is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Boulevard, and as always, good luck in your tournaments. Don't forget, if you want to play in the Online League Series, the sign-up link is in the description down below, and I will be casting that on Sunday at twitch.tv/JDozaGG. So, catch you there.